Since the Iran war began, ties between the European Union and the Gulf have entered a new phase, one defined by urgency, alignment, and trust. Leaders in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and across the region have made one thing clear. This is when you find out who your friends are. From diplomacy and trade to defense and security, cooperation is deepening rapidly as European fighter jets are helping protect the Gulf region from Iranian missiles and drones. Here in Doha, I sat down with Luigi Di Maio, the European Union's special representative for the Gulf region, on his first visit to the region since the conflict began. Mr. Di Maio, thank you for joining us on Euronews. Now you're on a tour of the region. What's your message to Gulf partners at this critical juncture?
Yes, I'm here now in Qatar after that I visited Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Muscat, and I will continue to Kuwait City and Manama. And the message, obviously, it's first of all solidarity for the unjustified attacks that the GCC countries got from Iran. Second, support. Our member states are supporting the GCC countries. The ones are requesting support, in particular in terms of equipments for self-defense. And third, let's work together for diplomacy and for the security of the people in the Gulf and the entire region.
Now, what is the EU stance on attacks targeting civilian infrastructure?
The majority of the missiles and drones the GCC are getting from Iran are targeting civilian infrastructures. Energy infrastructures are killing civilians. So it's not true that it's about military bases if we look at the figures. And this is totally unacceptable. And while we say that, we want to send a message even to the Iranians. HRVP Kaja Kallas had the opportunity even to speak with the Iranian foreign minister after the beginning of the war. And the message is that the more these attacks against the civilian infrastructures continue, the more a further escalation is possible, and we don't want that.
Now, we've heard from Iran that they're only targeting American bases and infrastructure, but we've also seen videos of attacks on hotels and airports, like you mentioned, civilian infrastructure.
The reports are very clear. Drones and missiles from Iran are attacking civilian infrastructures, and so civilians.
How concerned are you about energy security and maritime threats? And what are you hearing about the risk to European shipments?
For Europe, even thanks to the investments in the resilience after the Russian aggression against Ukraine, there is not a problem of quantities linked to fossil fuels. Obviously, we are affected by the global dynamic of the price, but we see some areas of the world that are suffering more this crisis. That is becoming even a humanitarian crisis, because it's not only about gas and oil, it's already something important, but even about fertilizers, about helium. Many components and goods are essential even for the agriculture, and where the GCC countries are championing as sectors of export. This is why we are concerned, and we want to work with our friends of the region, but even with United Nations for a diplomatic solution about the Strait of Hormuz. The High Representative of the European Union, Kaja Kallas, called Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, for launching an initiative in line with the model of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. After the Ukrainian war, after the beginning of the war in Ukraine, we managed, as international community, to strike a deal between Russia and Ukraine for ensuring humanitarian corridors in the Black Sea. We have to do the same with Hormuz, where there is the freedom of navigation, there is the international water, and we have to guarantee the freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz.
You mentioned a possible humanitarian crisis. How concerned are you that this could devolve into something much worse?
Obviously, the concern is not only from EU, it's from the international community. This concern obviously is even the push factor for pushing us in being faster for a diplomatic solution.
When we talk about diplomatic solutions, what role can the EU play in de-escalation, and how do you assess reports of US-Iran talks?
Obviously, the news about talks between US and Iran, indirect talks, of course, it's a very good news. And we support the so-called Islamabad initiative, we support Turkey, we support Egypt and Pakistan in this mediation effort. And obviously, as European Union, we hope for the best in terms of diplomatic solution, but we are even working on that because first, when we support our GCC countries, is not only the presence of you here, but is linked to our support to them in the UN fora. All 27 member states of the European Union, we have co-sponsored the Resolution 2817 at United Nations Security Council for their support. Second, as I said, the Strait of Hormuz, and so the Black Sea grain model for the Strait of Hormuz. This is the diplomatic initiative. And third, connections and messaging to all the actors of this Islamabad initiative in order to support the diplomatic path. On that, I want to say as clear message to our GCC friends, they will always find EU on their side along the next weeks and months, hoping for the end of the war very soon.
As the region is shifting, how is Europe redefining its role, including on defense cooperation, and what concrete steps come next?
We were already working in implementing a strategic partnership with the GCC countries. And indeed, less than 1 year ago, we have launched this tool for negotiations on a strategic partnership agreement EU GCC countries. And this is something that now can be even stronger as opportunity. Why? Because we have the opportunity of dealing more even on defense and security along that path. It's an agreement, it's something very structured that gives us the opportunity of evolving our security and defense partnership. Let's say that in any case is already in the reality ongoing. Our member states are answering very timely to all the requests and needs of our GCC friends here in terms of equipments and support for the self-defense. This has already happened during the last 3 weeks and will continue because the security of the GCC is our security.
And as you're making your way through the Gulf, and I know there's still a few more countries to go, are the concerns you're hearing from GCC countries the same, or do they differ country to country?
Of course, when you are attacked, the concern is always the same. Of course, like in Europe, even in the GCC, there may be nuances. But at the end of the day, we want the peace, and we want a structured solution for having the peace. And this is why more and more, already over the last years, we were aligned as European Union and GCC countries. The first ever summit in Brussels of the leaders in October 2024, our leaders managed to have a final statement launching this partnership about peace and prosperity. And the implementation is there. The point is that this crisis is testing our partnership and so far is reinforcing our partnership.
And how do you see Gulf security inseparable from European and global security?
Inseparable, because indispensable. We are becoming more and more indispensable to each other. And this crisis is showing exactly what we are saying. And when I say European Union, even the European Union partners are very important for the GCC, in my opinion, and the GCC countries are very important for our European Union partners. If I look at Ukraine, for instance, now the ongoing talks between Ukraine and the GCC countries for the technology, for the training, this is something that we support clearly, because it's even an opportunity of joining forces against those drones that are the same drones hitting Ukraine and now are hitting the GCC soil.
And finally, after this GCC tour, what's the message from Gulf countries? What do they want Europe to know about this current situation?
It's clear that the call is for a structured solution of this conflict. This is very important because in the day after this war, we have to work for a solid architecture of security of the Middle East. Because as I already said, the security of the Gulf, the security of the GCC, the security of the wider Middle East is our security. So every structured solution will find the support of the European Union.
Thank you, Mr. Di Maio.
Great pleasure for me.